Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Volusia Flagler Cares. I'm your host, Kelly Lacombe, and with me today, a very special guest, somebody who I met about 4 years ago. Knew of him many years before that, but really, not only did I meet him, but we sat down and talked for like 45 minutes, and it was one of those to where you just got to know not only a little bit about the person, but how they think and what they do. And with me is the governor of the Florida Kiwanis, and that is Tommy Mills. Tommy, good to see you. How you doing?
Everything is well. It's good to be here. Good to be on this podcast.
Well, we were talking earlier, and that's one of the reasons that I wanted you to be on today. Is there in the nonprofit world, there are a lot of changes that are that are happening, uh, and then those that will be happening. And like for instance of one that is happening currently, and it's been happening probably since COVID, and that's been the actual participation of somebody being at a meeting in a meeting room with a bunch of other people. So we lost that type of the intimacy factor, right? Then you bring in, costs have gone up. We charge to be a member of our organization. But the the other side is number one, do people have the disposable income to help support some of the different fundraisers? And second to that, does the government have the income or the taxes that they are going to fund these groups like they were funded previously? Or, uh, even half, they'd be happy, I'm sure, at this point. We're going to get the day of reckoning is about to come. And unfortunately, I believe that, it's our least, most, or our most vulnerable that ends up paying the price. So,
Well, Kelly, one thing you'll find about people, they're very resilient. If you have a program, if you're doing something that's sustainable, that's worthwhile, and that's relevant,
mhm,
uh, sometimes we make it we as sometimes as an organization we make it an issue, but people pay for what they want, and there's no price too high. But we find ourselves, especially after COVID, our communities have
yeah,
changed. The people in our community, how they serve, have changed, and so we, as service leadership organizations, are nonprofit. Same way with profit, those organizations for profit. We've got to
right,
evolve with the community. If we don't evolve with the community, we'll be left behind. And being left behind is not an option. We have to evolve with the community. And what does that mean? It means engaging the community. Every
right,
every club I know, they're looking for that pop. They're looking for that magic. They're looking for that amazing moment. They're looking for that spark. That
right.
spark is you can't go out and get it. That spark or that pop or that amazing moment you're looking for, it's in the members that you have. It's in the ideas that they bring to the table, and we've got to let those members express themselves and get them engaged in the
Hmm.
uh, organization. And once we get them involved in the organization, you can ask what you will, and they'll be happy to do it. But we've
Sure.
got to engage them, and then we've got to be relevant. Uh, and since COVID, we've looked at some of our meeting places have closed down, and it forced us to
Oh,
go look
right.
for other meeting places. And in that looking for other meeting places, we found a place that was favorable, that people would want to come to, and that young people would want to be involved in. Then some of the old fundraisers we had, we realized that they didn't work. So COVID sort
Right.
of forced us to look out there and says, look, we need to look out into our neighborhoods, look out in our environment, and we need to find something that's relevant to the community, that sells and that people wants to be a part of. And when we do that,
Right.
we find ourselves engaging the community, and the community is willing to support those efforts. So it's a matter of
Right.
producing what we say we do. As Kiwanis, we're a global organization comprised of volunteers, but our vision is that we'd have a positive impact worldwide and be in neighborhoods that where kids one day will wake up, where there are individuals in that neighborhood that believe in them, that will nurture them and support them that they may thrive. And when we do that, we'll find that I have a friend that says this all the time. He says, there's no hopeless situations. They're just people that have lost hope. Well, Kiwanis and all of these service
Man, that's
organizations, what
great.
we do in the community, we bring hope. We're not just showing up to show up for a meeting, but we're showing up to bring hope. And some
Yes.
there's
Wow,
people
what
that
a
we
great
serve, they've
way to
lost
look
hope,
at it.
but they see us as hope. And we have to have that spark. We have to know that we are producing that magic. And what is that magic? Is that we can go into a community and service these kids and give them a new outlook on how things should be, because we don't know what they go home to. I was just at
Right.
a Kiwanis meeting this morning, and one of the person was saying, and the boys and girls came and presented to us, and they were saying there's some kids when it's time for them to close the doors, they don't want to go home. We don't know what they're
Mm,
going home to, but they know that as a service leadership organization and the people that are in these clubs, they have their best interests in mind. They're looking out for their best interests, and those things matter. And people want to be a part of an organization that's doing something. I don't think, as I said earlier, that our community is changing. Nobody wants to show up to a meeting anymore, and I think we're going to have to look a little further and a little deeper. I think when we have
mhm.
our meetings, I think we're going to have to change the name, because the young people don't want to show up to a meeting. That's a connotation
Right.
like they're being instructed what to do, how to do it, and all of that. So we got to come up with a name there to
They
improve
might
that.
show up to a Zoom call, though. I mean, we got to figure out
Yes,
the way to engage them and do it in the ways they like to be engaged.
absolutely.
Not just what we think. We need to like that's a nail you need to hit on the head. And I think that they've already telegraphed that to us. Obviously,
They
the
have.
entire
They
world,
have.
all of the social TikTok and X and all of that, it's all now even going beyond the social media into social video media. And when that comes about, I mean, just making a pose in a picture, like they say, it says 1,000 words. But
Thousand
when you
words.
feel the obligation to go further because you're now in a video and you have to make something dramatic happen within 10 seconds or whatever, I think that
Absolutely.
changes a lot of the way that you think about how and what you're presenting out there. Just my opinion.
Well, in a room somewhere closed away, people are not going to see you. But like you
Right.
say, when you using media uh, to where you can get out and people don't have to travel and they can see what you're doing, then they'll reach out to you. We're currently right now working on building three new clubs in Division 10. And how do we
Wow.
get those individuals? We
Yeah.
put it out on media, and we've gotten about 40 prospects for each one of the clubs. But we have a whole host of out there. But we wouldn't do that if it was word of mouth, and if it was in a room
Right.
somewhere thinking that we should be doing this. No, we got to be doing it.
Well, what cities are those?
Those
Just
are St. Cloud, Kissimmee
ooh.
is a rebuild, and then Lake Nona.
Wow. That should be, I mean, God, there's so many uh around Lake Nona. That whole medical city, there's nurses and doctors and people that they make some money. But we again, like you say, what is the pill that helps one club get established versus another one? I know in Daytona they had a young lady come in who was also like a publisher, but one of these to where air kisses and the whole thing, but dramatic. I mean, like 6 foot tall, wearing 4 inch heels and just over not overwhelming but just dramatic. I mean, she when she got into the room, you knew she had come into the room, and all of a sudden
Absolutely.
she started speaking and talking to some of the women's groups that she was in, and I mean, next thing you know, the club doubles in size.
Absolutely.
This is a
And that's that
hundred and
pop I was
some
talking.
year old club.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's that pop we're talking about,
Yep.
and we've got to find that. that component that we're missing. And most of the
Yeah.
time it's in the community, and we've got to engage that community. Every club, all of our clubs packed with workers, and workers sometimes they work with the head down. That you give them a task and they do that, but then you got to get those individuals that are social butterflies that go out and seek additional workers. See, those are the ones sometimes that the club is missing. And then
Yes.
when you go out and get those individuals, now you got to have some minders in the club, and that's to bind those people, make sure that they get training that they need, and then they understand what it is that Kiwanis does. And then you got to have those that assign tasks and make sure those tasks are being done. But most of the time we got a club full of workers,
Right.
and they work with their head down. If you give them
Well,
something to do, they'll
and
do it.
and you know,
But they won't reach out to anybody else.
well, but the other thing is, how do you grow or boost somebody to into brilliance? You know, what are the good ideas? Who's thinking of those? Those are some of the other things that, I'm at a loss for what you guys are going to have to do in the future. It's intimidating, it's overwhelming, and especially knowing, the what we're about to get hit with, as far as the back end, the support system that has been there for so many years, is going to get kneecapped.
Right. Well, you know how the ones that came ahead of us do it. They walked the neighborhood and they knew everybody, so they were able to make those contacts and get us in. Our clubs are smaller now than ever before, and we've got all the tools to communicate with. But now we've
Hmm.
got to go back and say to there was a time when members in the club, they served for 50 years. They were secretary. They never gave it up. They held on to it. But
Right.
today, even in our workforce, people are not staying on jobs 30 years anymore. In
Right.
5 years and they're gone, and another
Well,
five
it's
years they're going
the
somewhere. So another
gig.
5 years they're going somewhere. So
Yeah, the gig economy.
right.
But you never build any
So it's
equity.
the same way with us as service leadership programs. We've got to be mobile and agile like they are, and continue to look for those fresh ideas. And those fresh ideas is by we selling. And you said it early on that we ought to be cheerleaders. We ought to be drum
Yeah.
majors for whatever club we're in, whether it's Kiwanis, Rotary, it doesn't matter what it is. Us older ones, we ought to be the drum majors. We ought to be the cheerleaders. We ought to be making it happen, and then inviting the young people in, and then giving them a role and let them go with it, and we just support them. Not we hold the position because
Yeah. No,
they're
you're
moving, they're trying
absolutely
to
right.
find themselves, and we've got to be trying to find ourselves, or how do we fit in with uh, this new
Well,
generation? How do we fit in?
see, Tommy, I think that there's, and again, it's not like this has been going on for, 2,000 years. It has been going on for 100, but there, right now, in that 100 years, what just the United States has gone through, from the automobile to the airplane to World War I to the Dust Bowl to World War II to Korea to Vietnam, and I mean, all in between, the Vietnam to socially, what it did, there was so many. These are big time affections. Well, now we have people making decisions that are equally that either devastating or supportive, whichever way you're looking at it. But we're talking about by the hour. How do you stay on top of that? There are right now some groups that don't even know that they have nothing coming in June. They just don't even, they're not even, they don't watch the news every 5 minutes. So it's, I've never seen a situation quite like this. And unfortunately, I just believe that at the one time when the bottom does fall out, the people that we'll be relying on to come in and support from the bottom aren't going to have the resources to be able to do that either. And it's going to be a double whammy.
Well, and these service leadership programs that we in, and the organization we in, we find that the children, we ought to know this for a fact, that the children of tomorrow is depending on us right now for us
Yes.
to dream big. They're depending on us to dream bigger and to serve greater and to lead more boldly. If we do those things, we'll find ourselves relevant, but we can't stop dreaming. And a lot of the clubs, what they've did is that they've put it in house and they've kept it in house and keeping it in house. They haven't grown, and
Hmm.
so they can't say they're dreaming bigger because you're not dreaming bigger. But we've got to start dreaming bigger because that's what our leaders
Yeah.
ahead of us did. They dreamed bigger. So they engaged the community. So when they engaged the community came out. So the clubs was bigger. So we've got to continue that. Then we've got to serve greater, just like
Hmm.
they did. We've got to serve greater. So we can't rest on what they've done because what they've done is gone. So that's
Right.
water under the bridge. But we're on deck now, and then we've got to lead more boldly. That's what the kids for tomorrow is depending on. If we do that, we're always going to be relevant. We're always going to be in the game. And this
Hmm.
is, as Fred Sanford would say on Sanford and Son, this is the big one. You
Yeah.
know, uh,
Yeah.
we're either
Lamont
saving
died.
the
I
kids or
couldn't
we're not.
believe it. Did you see
So
that?
we've got to know we're in the big one. And
Yeah.
people are depending on us, and we will come through. And it's going to be us not dissecting what it is we do, but by us putting our shoulders together and then looking forward, not looking in the rearview mirror, because the rearview mirror don't get us anywhere. But we
Nowhere.
got to look forward. And even though we don't understand what's ahead of us, we still got to pursue going forward, because what happens is as you get closer, uh, even when you're driving, as you get closer, it comes more into view what I need to be doing, how I need to be doing it, and how
Right.
do I catch up? And we're catching up. So that's us. Is we got to stop looking in the rearview mirror, thinking about what we did have, and then go forward to make something happen in the future.
Hmm.
And this generation, that we're on deck. So let's do our best. If we do our best and give it our all, we be drum majors and cheerleaders. People are gonna want to be a part of us. They're gonna join us, and the
Well,
kids
no,
in this
but
district
now, but
are going to be better.
how do you do that? Is it that you provide them with more resources? Is it that uh, we create different software that might help? Is there, what down in the trenches can actually help these people immediately and moving into the future?
It we're going to do it, but it's going to be a team effort. And we've got to help one another. I'm the governor of this organization because someone encouraged me and they supported me. And because they
Hmm.
supported me, I'm willing to work harder and to do more. I'm not here because I'm the brightest in the bunch. I'm here because I'm one of the hardest workers in the bunch. And if we would support those individuals right now that are struggling, that are the leaders, and I use Publix. I walk into Publix and I look like I'm confused, or I see one of the workers there and I says, I'm looking for such and such. They say, sir, it's on 17. And then they start walking with me there. I said, no, I can find it. You just told me. They said, no, sir. They make sure I get there. So that's what we as leaders got
Right.
to do. We got to make sure that our leaders get there. And they can't do it by themselves. That man, that woman I just asked in Publix, they took me to 17, and we've got to take our leaders there, and we got to support them, because if we'll
Hmm.
support them, guess what? The leaders shouldn't be engaged with all of the uh, uh, what I want to say, the matrix of the organization. They ought to be engaged in the matrix of the community, looking at what does the community
Yes.
need and all of this. Somebody else ought to be doing the roll call. Somebody else ought to be getting the speaker. Somebody else ought to be checking
Right.
people in and all that, not the leader. The leader ought to be saying, "Man, we got a great program today, and it's exciting. We went out, we've
Right.
sought the best of the best, and they're here today." And then when
Right.
they
And
put on that program
there's
and
people that
go ahead.
actually show up because you might have good speakers.
Absolutely.
The Daytona
Absolutely.
one,
That's what they're looking for. And
yeah.
and you shouldn't disappoint them.
No, the
But
Daytona
I go to
club
a lot of
had
clubs
some
and they
pretty
have no
pretty
program.
big. Yeah. Well, when
And then I'll ask, why don't you have a program? They say, well, we're small. Well, how are you going to get big if you don't invite folks to come?
yeah. Well, and it's like they started a club in Deland, West Volusia, and man, the lady and
Mhm.
well, you met Kristen, cute little girl, cute young lady. Sorry.
Sure have.
And they're doing a pancake breakfast right around Bike Week and they're going to make a fortune. But it's, if they, and I'm sure they're scared to death that, it could, rain, it could be, it's outdoors. But, just that's it. Putting out the commitment and saying, hey, we're a part of this community. And not only are we going to give you something fun to do, but we're going to take the results of that and we're going to make something great happen here in our community. So,
Absolutely.
uh, again,
Well, we have
service,
so many opportunities and such great potential. All we got to do is tap into it.
right? But it almost always, though, Tommy, kind of seems like it's the same people that get tapped into. And I know the old adage
And
of,
and, and
if you want something done, ask the busiest person you know. But hey, after a while, those people really are burdened and tired, and they're not even
absolutely,
giving you the fresh
absolutely.
ideas.
Well, and that's one of the things where we always got to keep our thinking cap on, and a lot of times when you get to the burnout stage, a lot of that will happen because we haven't learned how to share or what it is that we do. We want to do
Good
it
point.
ourselves, and it's like you doing something, and then I come up and says, "Kelly, can I help you do this?" You said, "No, I got it." Well, I just asked you, "Can I help?" You
Right,
ought to make room for me to help because you want to see me grow. You want to see
right,
me take
right,
your
right,
place, and you want to see me ready to do what it is you're doing. But I
right.
can't get there
And if
unless
you're
you
really
help me.
smart, you want to eventually hand it over.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And then after you hand it over, you want to go out and find somebody else just like you again,
Well,
and keep
and
on doing it.
that
And that
person that
way,
you just
when me and
trained,
you are
he's
long
going to
gone,
train
Kelly,
somebody
this
else.
absolutely, absolutely,
Well, I
absolutely.
gotta
So it's an
say,
ongoing process.
yeah, but and we can go, and Tommy, this is one of the reasons why I love you to death, man, is because there's no point in being negative, and your
No,
optimism is infectious, and I think it's something that we need now. But what we need, though, is to get more people to see and hear your infectious, what you're talking about. It's wonderful, and it really makes so much
absolutely. But,
sense.
but there are a lot of people that or have this same enthusiasm and affectionate that I have, but we just got to get them that's in these various communities to come and be a part of us.
Hey, anytime you want to do anything together, brother, I am on board. Let me know.
I got you. I got you.
Well, the we're going to go ahead and put up QR code of the Kiwanis.org so that people can go, and if they want to, they can find their local Kiwanis club, and they can either volunteer, they can donate, or they can join. Are you there?
Absolutely.
Well, Tommy, it
I'm
really,
here, but
really
I can.
was.
You were breaking up on my end.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. I was going to say it's just been so wonderful to talk with you and to hear obviously somebody who knows what they're doing, knows what they're talking about, and in spite of all of that is still positive and still, cheering on and going forward. But, I guess at some point that's all we can do, huh?
That's it. That's it. My career has been in law enforcement, and I've seen the negative. But I also seen the positive, and
Right.
I've got a choice. I can either dwell on the negative or dwell on the positive, and I'd rather dwell on the positive because when I dwell on the positive, I have energy to help someone else. And our living is in vain if we can't help somebody else. And I don't want my living to be in vain. I want it to be a prosperous life all the way through until the end. And how do you do that? You do that by staying engaged. You do that by encouraging folks
Right.
because somebody encouraged me one day and I got to pass it on, and I can't bottle it up and put it in a jar and set it on the shelf and says I'm gonna keep it. It doesn't do anybody any good.
Right. Yeah, well, the real magic is sharing it,
Yes, sir.
Next man up. Well, Tommy, thank you so much for coming on to Volusia Flagler Cares. This is going to air on Fridays after 4 p.m. and I will get you a copy. To everybody else, it is great to see you. We'll be back next week with the Disabled American Veterans. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon. Bye bye. Okay.